the changes that went through that society were staggering, and we're about to experience those same range.
Now, that's a very interesting analogy, which should ring for a lot of you folks. That's really unprecedented, and somehow Cuba survived, isn't it?
It's a very interesting tale, and I've read a number of reports of it, especially the Cuban government's own reports, and it's fascinating, yes.
Mm-hmm. It is. All right, be right back, gang. Hold on. Okay, and we're back with Clif, talking about the future. All right, 2009. On balance, I mean, again, Toyota down 32%, Ford 40% drop in the last month.
Yeah.
And it goes on and on. You know, I occasionally see GM car. I'm not picking on GM. I see GM cars. I don't see anything desirable. You know, I like you and many of you listening. I like older cars when America used to know how to. These were wonderful things in the 50s and 40s, pieces of art. They look like they're devoid of any spiritual substance.
What we have these days, yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's probably a fairly good mirror of what's going on within the society at large.
Well, it goes right back to the core of our work there, and that's this emotional response. If you have an emotional response of bland, you know, then you have the duty, so to speak, in order to sell the things. They have to get out and hype it on all these strange ways. Whereas look at the phenomenon of the Volkswagen Beetle. It showed up. There were advertising efforts, sure, but basically it was a grassroots kind of a movement that brought that car to the stage it was in our society.
Well, actually, it was Adolf Hitler, but that's
well, it is a secondary issue entirely. Yeah.
Now, by the way, and I'll tell you right now, and then just to get off the subject a little further, if Ford and GM wanted to make money, all they have to do is literally recreate some of their great 50s classics, right down to the square millimeter, with modern drivetrains and the rest of it. 57 Chevrolet Bel Air, you going to tell me they wouldn't sell out of those? 56
sure.
Chevy Bel Air, 51 Ford Woody, Station Wagon. Come on, get serious. It's right there. All they have to.
In fact, we're seeing that in a different kind of a format up here in Ecotopia, the Pacific Northwest, because up in Bellingham and then south of me here, I think in Centralia, are a couple of centers where people are converting older vehicles into electric vehicles.
Yeah.
And they're choosing a lot of the older, I mean, shockingly so, 60s and 70s vehicles because of a bunch of different design issues.
Yeah.
But size among them. I'm
not talking about, some people say, well, they've taken the Mustang and they made it new. Well, I'm talking about the original. Go back to where it works. The 67, 68 fastback. Anyway, whatever.
Yeah, but that assumes that the whole capitalist support system is there. We're going to have fuel roads, etc. And we need to radically alter how we do things as a species.
Well, we do know,
because we won't survive as a species doing the same old things for another 100 years.
No. Although, with the number of honest alternative energy sources that have been mothballed, let's be polite here.
Sure.
It's all there, and alcohol. These flex fuel cars can run on pure alcohol. That can be 1 acre of sorghum can produce enough fuel for I think 2 or 3 cars for the year if they just get
but we can't do that because of the current state. Again, if you look at it from a large analysis picture, we are in a closed system, and currently humanity is sucking down about 40% of the biota per year.
Totally closed. You're right.
So we're about to collapse our ability to consume all the other living things on the planet at an annual level because we're not putting it back. And there has to be a carry level that is sustained for all of the various different species in order to keep the ecosystems whole. And this includes agriculture. And so this is the failure of the oil-based agriculture system. So actually, we need to get into some really strange kind of fuel systems, like if you wanted to do biodiesel, get away from all of that and just do algae, something along those lines.
You've seen I think many of you have seen the stories on YouTube about algae creating fuel. It's remarkable.
Oh, and all different kinds of other side chemicals as well. And it's stupid for us to use something as valuable as petroleum as a chemical source in burning it. But
look
all
at
those
the work
things,
look at the work of Stanley Meyer, murdered. He had it right there. Totally water fueled automobile. Done deal.
Yeah. I know, and it's a strange planet we live on, isn't it? Where the rational approach to things is so frequently beaten and hammered into a hole in the ground, and its inventor is killed.
Yep, a lot of dead inventors.
Yeah, and microbiologists, and we have such strange things as massive chemtrail spraying and volcanoes going off at an increasing rate, and a huge jump in, and I'm talking huge, on the order of magnitude, jump in earthquakes over the past 15 years and in large magnitudes, and yet no government is acknowledging this. On the other hand, we have secret societies and Bill Gates and Warren Buffett and people supporting the rapid creation of a doomsday seed vault 400 feet up above sea level and above the Arctic Circle. Now, what's that all about, right? And then we have everything going completely as though the plug has been pulled economically. And that's what we're seeing in our data, is that this year through to 2010, it will become quite apparent that the powers that be are not trying to hold things together anymore. And by that I mean those people that pull the strings that the politicians dance to.
So they're just letting it go into free fall.
They don't care. The politicians in the middle class of civil servants that we call the minion class in our data here are going to do their absolute level best and so on, but it's the thinking that got us here, so it won't get us out. They're going to keep digging the hole, and we'll keep going along. And it's going to get really noticeably nasty from November onward of 2009.
Do you see a roll-up into 2012, which is going to be capitalized by every charlatan on the planet to one degree or another? But is there something coming in 2012 that the data shows?
Oh, yeah. We see it in a number of different ways. Our problem is that there's so much hype about it that the emotional content
hard to read.
Exactly, because it's scaling towards real extremes. It is quite clear, though, just based on recent events, Banda Aceh, the quakes up here, the volcanoes and so on, that there is a great perturbance in the solar system. Plus, we now have the issue of the heliosphere shrinking rapidly, and sometime in 2009, 2010, at a time indeterminate because it's not a steady rate of decrease, the heliosphere, which is the magnetic sphere that's generated by the sun's mass and the relative angular momentum of the large planets in our solar system, will decrease below the inner planets and will pass below the orbit of Mars and then below the orbit of Earth, and will be exposed to whatever energy is coming in from the passing through the plane of the galactic center. Reaches
of space,
Yeah.
A big pulse of something coming through here? Do we have anything that will?
We have demonstrable evidence coming in now in discussions of what the new satellite countries, Japan, China, and India, are finding when their satellites get out there. And that is the disturbing presence of rhodium and iridium. And we know that,
go ahead.
I was saying, we know that even from NASA's admission some 5 or 6 years back, that we've entered into a very dense or a denser area of space relative to dust.
Van Allen belts and travelers to the moon. What are your thoughts in retrospect on that?
I think Hoagland is correct in his assumptions or his conclusions about the structures of former domes and so forth on the moon. It's not that I doubt that the people went there, but I think, and again, as everybody says, the lie is different at every level, so there undoubtedly has been many hoaxed images just to cover up stuff that was lying about.
Well, Mail in Space Sciences, MSS, has doctored, God only knows how many.
That makes so much sense. Public money going to massive space efforts, and we funnel all the pictures through one person's narrow perception of what should be released.
One guy. That's it. He is dictating to us what we are allowed to see, what we're supposed to see, and what we're supposed to think. The relics on Mars.
Not a cover-up,
Yeah, but that is. The relics and evidence on Mars of not only ongoing life, and you see these simpering little stories about methane gas discovered. Please, folks. It is obscene what they're doing to us.
And boy, it really irritates me, too. It gets beyond it gets beyond mere political kinds of issues. The what the damage done to the species in withholding this information is incalculable. And I've heard people make quotes and references that black ops fellows are running around saying that the powers that be would rather lose an American city to a nuclear blast than lose control of this hyperdimensional knowledge. And the problem is that statement and what it says about the rigidity of the patriarchal mindset. And if that is the case, they have already lost control because you cannot stifle knowledge. It has a way of working out, and the universe proves that repeatedly. And what they're doing is creating this almost pent-up demand that's going to have some serious emotional repercussions. And we'll see that as the economy globally goes into this coagulation mode next year, just based around that issue, and that'll start opening up people's minds when all of the other secrets start coming on out, because some of the side effects are rather interesting. As the federal government gets into very dire straits over the course of summer and into fall, we're going to get a lot of people that won't be able to be paid anymore. And so a lot of people that are holding secrets are being essentially paid to do so once the pay stops.
Well, they may start being paid to spill the beans by independent contractors. Yeah.
And that leads to more, and then more revelations about what's been going on. And we start getting into this, what I like to think of as a virtuous cycle. Because a lot of people then will actually want to come clean anyway.
Cycle. I like that.
Yeah, and not in the way that George the economist would use it.
No, a whistleblower's parade coming.
Exactly. Like yeah, and that's just what we're going to be getting into this fall. That
would be fun.
I think so. It should be interesting.
We like that. My friend, thank you.
Anytime, sir.
What pie is in season right now?
Well, we have frozen blueberries. Making do.
You are toughing it out.
Yes, we have to. Yep.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.
Okay.
Good night.
Bye.
Clif High of halfpasthuman.com, and good night, George, and I hope you get well soon. Thanks to all of you for being here tonight. We'll be back in 21 hours. In the meantime, you know where we'll be on the Internet. Hope to see you there. Thanks for your kind emails and support, as always. I'm Jeff Rense. Talk soon.